So what's next for you guys then? So in terms of the World Cups coming up, have you guys got a view yet on crew combinations or how you guys would tackle that? If you're in the same 8, how do you move on and go from European champs to World Cups now?
Yeah, well, the long and short of it is Jurgen's going to keep the 4 as it was for Egbelet, with a question mark after that, but give them another opportunity. And to be honest, I think that's quite right. I'm not at the level to get into the 4. And it would be wrong of me to speculate whether or not that's what I want anyway, but those 4 athletes, they're setting the standard. I mean, proper gold medal standard. Everyone's got their weaknesses, but they don't seem to have any weaknesses. They fit together very well. They dominated the European Championships, and if I were selecting the boats, I couldn't with a clean conscience put me in it at the moment. So credit to them, they're brilliant. And where does that leave the rest of us? So we had a second pair at the Europeans and then the 8 below that. So now what seems to have happened is the 8 have amalgamated the pair into their group. There's a big 8s group now, but a few guys are coming out of it and a few guys have been put in who on paper from the season and from historically they're stronger athletes. So now we've got an 8 with Henry coxing, so the coxers need to be selected as well. That's a little bit more difficult, and they're going through a trialling process. So Henry's got it for, this is Henry Fieldman, he's got it for Egbelet. Will's been moved up to the stroke seat, and then behind Will is still Matt at 7, Fody at 6, me still at 5, Matt Langridge at 4 in the bucket. Who's behind him? 3 is Noddy, 2 is Alan, so that's the pair, and 1 is still Scott Durant. Okay?
Yeah.
So then basically what we've got is a stronger 8. A stronger 8, but not the strongest 8. So
I wondered when I saw Satch move to the 6th seat, I thought that the rhythm it injected into your boat for World Champs last year, perhaps I'm sitting on the sideline seeing something that didn't exist, but I thought that there was a really strong rhythm when Satch was in the stroke seat. Did the feel of the boat change significantly when he moved into the stroke seat last year? And do you think that will come back with him in the stroke seat?
Well, Will moved into the stroke seat from, I think Hodgie was stroking before then. I think Will's got a very brutal rhythm, but it's consistent and it's good. I think with Will in particular, his strength is when he's confident, he's world class. So sitting there in the stroke seat, he's got the keys, he's got his boys behind him, but he's on it, and he's a very, very impressive athlete physically and technically. And if he holds that confidence, then you know he's dynamite. I wouldn't want to compare him to other athletes directly, but I think Fody did an outstanding job in the stroke seat in Belgrade that we've just had. So it's not a bad reflection of him that we've just switched them over, but I think Will's physical strength and hunger and brutality in the stroke seat sends the right messages down the boat through 7 and through 6, and then through me as well. And the crew can feed off that and pick up on it. So yeah, that's something special. Matt Tarrant doesn't do anything wrong. Fody in the 6th seat's great. I'm getting my strength back. Me and Matt Langridge in the middle. That's some good old-fashioned horsepower from the recent heritage in the team. Matt Langridge now, huge experience from the 8, both in a silver in Beijing and a bronze in London in that boat class. And then behind him with Noddy and Alan coming in from the pair, they were 3rd at trials, not slow guys, they've got a lot to offer, and then we've still got Scott Durant. So then the pair is Paul Bennett, who's had a rib fracture, but he's coming back now through training, and Paul, I really like him, and he's just a monster on the ergo, with Matt Gottrell behind him. So they were 4th at trials, could be good in the pair, but I think that's a process of building Paul back up and maybe looking at Matt as well. And then behind that, there's another group of 4 athletes who had come out of the 8. And when you start looking at who's left in the team, okay, so just name dropping now, the guys that came out of the 8, plus Paul Bennett, plus Tom Ransley, plus Constantine Loulis when he gets back, plus Dan Ritchie, all of a sudden you're looking at some very strong options for a stronger 8.
Amazing bench, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good lineup. So leaving the top 4 out of it, I think that's real potential. And when you look realistically, if you look at where we are in the world, we performed through our skins in Europeans, which is the only thing we've got to go on. We were 1 seconds down on a full German crew that were racing hard. The Germans arguably are strengthened since last year when they got the silver, so 4 of that 8 moved out into the Coxless 4 and were 10 seconds down in that event, and a stronger 4 has gone in, and we were still only 1.6 seconds behind them. We've still got to do it, but we've got the athletes. We've got the athletes below us. There's a pyramid with a big base. There's opportunity there, and I'm massively excited by it.
What about you in the pair? So, I mean, you've been in the pair in the past.
Yeah.
And the reason I asked that is that I remember your performance here with Triggs Hodge, where you equalled Redgrave and Pinsent.
Yeah, it was gutting. We should have been that.
I bet it was. But all it makes me think is, you guys are awesome in the pair. All I'm thinking is there's a big target on the backs of the Kiwis.
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever consider a personal goal of trying to topple that, or dethrone them, or do you think that's just never doable?
I don't think it's never doable, but I don't think we'll do it. The way Jürgen's talking, the way the team is starting to develop now. Hodgie and I are getting a little bit older. Of course, we were a great pair. I think I'm normally a very modest guy, but I've got to give us credit. We really took it to the Kiwis, and we never beat them, of course, and that doesn't ever sit well with me. I wish we had. That Carapiro race was a blinder, but we are the only crew to ever push them, and they are outstanding. I'll give them credit as well. That's a boat that's way out there. So I'm proud of what we did. I wish we had beat them, but I can honestly look myself in the mirror and say I gave it everything, and walk away from that. So after we went out of that project and past 2012, Jürgen broke up me and Andy. So suddenly me, Andy and Alex Gregory as the 3 remaining Olympic champions are pairing with other guys in the team. And I think that brings on everybody else. It brings up the standard. And that's what we've seen. So Mo stepping up, and George stepping up, and Will stepping up, and we've got Stan in the wings, and Langer's knocking around. If you start to consider those 8, 9, 10 guys, that 8 could break records, I'm sure. And
what would you say is your favourite boat? So there's the 8. You've been in the pair for a while. You've been in the 4. Out of all of them, which did you love the most? Would you say you could have a favourite boat?
I'm fond of all of them. That's such a rubbish answer, isn't it? Probably the 4 because of my successes at the Olympics in it. Those were 2 wonderful crews and wonderful years, and something I'll always be proud of. And we had big downs before the ups, but the 4 is special to me. The pair, I love the relationship aspect of it. It's you and one other guy. You're doing your own thing. It was a team of 3 if you include Jürgen. We were very focused, lots of communication. The basic aspect. If I was the only guy on bow side, if I make a mistake, then the whole of bow side is just completely screwed. And that's a nice thing, to have that pressure, to have that enjoyment, to know that when you get it right, when it's perfect, it's you and your mate just smashing the numbers out, and sitting on the start line of a final in a pair is just beautiful. And then that leaves me with the 8. I think I've got a lot to offer the 8 as a boat class. I think my physiology and my attitude suits a bigger boat. I can just sit in the middle. I know I'm not ropey as an athlete, but I can just smash out big numbers in the middle of an 8, and I've got history there from Oxford as well. I've raced and won the 8 at World Cups, from one that I prepared in 2007 and one jumping in Bled in 2010. And then, of course, last season, romping away with some great eights work at Dorney at the World Cup, and then that great World Champs win. So I've got a lot of fond memories of that boat class as well. So that's a very difficult one.
Must be quite nice to be able to perform in any of those boats, really.
I've got good guides around me.
Yeah.
You want a ranking? 4, pair, 8,
Right.
but it's close.